Joining me now is Minnesota Democratic Congresswoman Angie Craig. It's good to see you on the program again. Congresswoman, you've called for Senate Democrats to hold the line on this. Do you have any intel that they will? What do you see happening here?
Well, first, let me say that the deaths of Renee Good and Alex Preddy are just tragedies here in Minnesota. They're horrific, these murders. And I think America is calling for Senate Democrats to hold the line. I'm certainly calling for them to hold the line. And even before the murder of Alex Preddy on Saturday morning, I voted against funding for the Department of Homeland Security. I've led an impeachment resolution against Kristi Noem. And at the end of the day, this is the leverage we have. We have to stop. And if it results in a partial government shutdown, this is the lever we have. It's time to stand up. We can't give this administration one more inch.
The problem, of course, is getting some Republicans on board, although there are now some Republicans who are raising concerns about what they're seeing following the most recent death. Take a listen to James Comer, who is a top Trump ally.
If I were President Trump, I would almost think about, okay, if the mayor and the governor are going to put our ICE officials in harm's way, and there's a chance of losing more, innocent lives or whatever, then maybe go to another city and let the people of Minneapolis decide, do we want to continue to have all of these illegals? Are we going to allow our governor, attorney general, and mayor to get away with this?
So does that match anything that you're hearing from Republican House colleagues, even behind closed doors? Are they looking for essentially what sounds like an off-ramp?
I think they witnessed with their own eyes what happened to Renee Good and Alex Preddy. Thank goodness we had video from constitutional observers who were there so bravely. But I think many Republicans are realizing what we've always known in Minnesota. Donald Trump and Kristi Noem, you've picked the wrong city. You've picked the wrong state here to pick on, because in negative 11-degree weather, 50,000 of us brave and go out and peacefully protest. We will stand up for our neighbors. This is the kind of weather where we go, shovel somebody else's driveway, where we shovel a sidewalk. We are not going to back down to the federal government as long as ICE is abusing their authority and violating the law and targeting our neighbors, our Black and brown neighbors in particular.
We just learned before we went on air 17 minutes ago that the president had put out information on Truth Social saying that the Governor Tim Walz, had called him with a request to work together with respect to Minnesota. It was a very good call, he says. We actually seem to be on a similar wavelength. Now, we've reached out to the governor's office and we haven't heard from him yet. But could that be the start of something?
Well, I talked to the governor yesterday. He talked to a number of members of Congress to give us an update. And look, I think that this is an indication potentially that Donald Trump recognizes that he needs an off-ramp to this situation, that he is losing support across this country, and he is, not just in Minnesota. So we all hope, we've been saying from the beginning that Minnesota is the 24th, ranked number 24 in the country for immigrants. Why are you targeting Minnesota? It's political retribution. But I think there is growing recognition by the president and by Republicans that this isn't going so well for them, because we stand up for each other in Minnesota, and we won't stop standing together for our neighbors.
We saw the president over the weekend point fingers at Minnesota leaders and local law enforcement in Minneapolis after the shooting. And he wrote in part, quote, "Where are the local police? Why weren't they allowed to protect ICE officers? The mayor and the governor called them off. It is stated that many of these police were not allowed to do their job, that ICE had to protect themselves." What's your response to that?
Well, my understanding is that ICE has sort of 5 times the number of agents in Minnesota as we have in the Minneapolis Police Department. And so I don't understand at all why ICE would be conducting activities with that many people here where they could not conduct themselves. And frankly, in both of these murders, what you see is officers who escalate the situation. When we saw Alex Preddy, try to protect another citizen who had been shoved down into the snow by an ICE agent, that is when that situation with 7 or 8 ICE officers on top of him went out of control. And so I would simply say to Republicans, it's really a shame, but we can all see with our own eyes what's happening here in Minnesota, and your ICE is escalating the situation tremendously. And our local law enforcement, let me just say that they are busy trying to distinguish themselves from the behavior of ICE on the streets. And it's truly extraordinary that local law enforcement, police chiefs, sheriffs, rank and file officers across this state have stood together to call out the tactics being used by ICE. And I think their bravery in doing so actually will play a really important role for many of my colleagues to finally see that ICE and their tactics are out of control in Minnesota.
We are running out of time, but I do want to ask you quickly about Pam Bondi's letter to the governor, in which she suggests that the way to de-escalate this and get ICE out of Minnesota is to hand over voter rolls. What's your take on that?
Well, it just confirms what we've always known, Chris, that this was never about immigration. This was about political retribution. This is blackmail by the federal government. And in doing so, our state would be violating our state laws, and we believe federal law as well. So no one here in Minnesota wants their privacy to be betrayed by handing over voting rolls to a federal government that lies on a daily basis. And so my response to Pam Bondi, and of course, that's exactly what our Secretary of State has said as well, is hell no, we will never betray the people of Minnesota.